The bell rang, releasing a flood of students into the hallway. Lockers clanged open and shut, voices rose into a messy symphony of chatter, and sneakers scuffed across linoleum floors worn smooth by years of teenage traffic. Lena moved through it like smoke, silent, drifting, unnoticed unless you were looking for her. Most weren't. She kept her eyes low, focused on the fading spine of her book as she walked. Ender's Game, 7th read through. The edges were soft from use, the corners bent, pages crinkled from water damage. She didn't care. It was her shield, a small world she could hold in front of her like armor. She wore her hoodie up, earbuds dangling from her neck but not playing music. A defense system, designed to suggest she was somewhere else. She had gotten good at invisibility. She had learned not to make sudden movements, not to answer questions too quickly in class, not to react to whispers or laughter unless she was sure it wasn't about her. She timed her locker visits to avoid the surge between classes and chose the long way around when necessary. All of it worked, most days. But not today. The sound of voices came too close, too fast. Yo, there's Mouse, someone said behind her. That voice, instantly recognizable. Trent. Lena stiffened. Her pace didn't change, but the hand holding her book gripped tighter. She kept her eyes on the hallway ahead, pretending she hadn't heard. Hey, Trent called again, louder this time. Footsteps pounded up behind her, and in the next moment, he was walking beside her, crowding into her space. Still pretending to be smart, huh? He said, his grin wide and empty. Ah, what you reading this time, Mouse? She turned slightly away, angling her shoulder like a shield. No response, no eye contact. Trent's hand lashed out. He smacked the book from her grip. It hit the floor with a dull slap, pages splaying across the tiles. A few students nearby paused but kept walking. No one stopped. Oops, he said with mock surprise. Clumsy. Lena knelt quietly to retrieve the book. Her hands were steady, movements smooth. She didn't look at him. Didn't say a word. Trent crouched beside her. Don't ignore me, Mouse. That's rude. She stood slowly. Her eyes flicked up for the briefest second, locking onto his. Her face was blank, but her gaze was steady. Leave me alone, she said, quiet but clear. He laughed. What? You gonna tell a teacher? Gonna cry. Then, without warning, the slap. His hand came from nowhere, fast and open, striking the side of her face. Not playful, not symbolic, just violence. The sound echoed against the lockers, sharp and unmistakable. Heads turned, conversations dipped, then resumed awkwardly. A few students paused mid-step. Some stared, most didn't want to get involved. Lena didn't stumble, she didn't cry out. She stood there, one hand against her cheek, blinking slowly. Trent smirked. There she is. Bet you got that look from your mom, huh? Lena's hand dropped from her cheek. She looked at him, not like someone afraid, not like someone trying to be brave, but like someone doing math. You shouldn't have done that, she said, voice low. What? He said, laughing. Slap you. What are you gonna do about it, Mouse? She didn't answer. Trent's friends were behind him now, leaning against lockers, grinning. The ones who laughed when he tripped kids in the cafeteria or threw pencils at substitute teachers. They were enjoying the show. But something was wrong. Lena's posture had shifted, not by much, just enough to notice if you were paying attention. Her weight shifted slightly forward. Her shoulders relaxed, almost like she was settling in. Her face was unreadable, but her eyes were locked on Trent's wrist like it was a weak point. Trent didn't realize anything had changed. He was still laughing, still basking in the attention from his crew, his ego inflated by the moment. The quiet girl with the hoodie was supposed to shrink, maybe cry, maybe run. That's how these things usually went. That's how it had always gone before. Lena took a step forward, closing the space between them. She moved like she had rehearsed it, like she had been here before, even though she hadn't, not exactly. Her hand came up slowly, almost lazily, as if brushing lint from a sleeve. But then it snapped into motion, her fingers clamping around Trent's wrist in a precise grip, thumb pressed hard into the soft tendon just below his thumb. His smirk faltered. Hey, what the, he started, but his words broke into a gasp as she twisted. Not wildly, not like someone lashing out in panic or rage. It was mechanical, controlled. A fluid step brought her behind him as she rotated his arm outward, forcing his elbow to bend unnaturally. His body followed, stumbling to keep up with the new geometry she imposed on him. Pain bloomed across Trent's face, sudden and sharp. Yo, What is she doing? Someone shouted. His friends stepped forward, unsure, startled. None of them moved fast enough. Lena didn't hesitate. She planted her feet and pivoted her hips, pressing her forearm into the back of Trent's elbow. For 1 second, time slowed. He twisted, trying to escape, muscles tensing against her hold, but the angle was already wrong. She shifted her weight forward. The joint gave out with a sickening, wet crack, loud, unnatural, final. Trent screamed. The sound tore through the hallway louder than the slap ever had. It silenced everything. Even lockers stopped slamming. The air felt heavy, like the seconds before a storm hits. He collapsed to the floor, clutching his arm, face pale and eyes wide. His mouth opened, but no words came. Just sharp, shallow breaths as his brain caught up to what had happened. Lena stepped back from him. Her face was unchanged. No anger, no joy, not even relief. Just stillness. Around them, a ring of students had formed, unsure whether to move closer or keep their distance. Some had phones out, some stood frozen, mouths open, shocked into silence. Trent's friends didn't move. They hovered at the edges, unsure whether they'd just watched a crime or a miracle. The rules had shifted without warning, and none of them knew what to do. One of them muttered, "She broke his ******ing arm." Another whispered, "He hit her first." The tension hung in the air, too thick to break. Then, from down the hallway, footsteps echoed fast and firm. The sharp voice of authority followed a second later. "What's going on here, Mr. Halvorsen?" The assistant principal rounded the corner, phone in hand, eyes scanning the crowd. His gaze landed on the boy on the floor, on Lena standing still beside him, on the wide-eyed witnesses circling them. He rushed forward, crouching next to Trent. "Are you hurt? What happened?" Trent could barely speak. His arm was bent the wrong way, twisted with swelling already forming at the joint. He whimpered, trying to explain, but his voice cracked and broke into pain. "Someone call the nurse," Halvorsen barked. Then his eyes locked on Lena. What did you do?" Lena raised her hands slowly, palms open. Not in surrender, but in distance. Like she was saying, "I'm not a threat anymore. I've already decided how this ends." "I defended myself," she said simply. "Defended?" Halvorsen's voice faltered. "Did he touch you, hit you?" She didn't answer. She didn't have to. A voice from the crowd piped up. "He slapped her. Hard." Another added, "She didn't do anything until after that." Halvorsen looked around. Too many witnesses. Too many eyes. Too many phones. Lena stood quietly, her breathing calm, her stance neutral. She looked smaller than ever in that moment, dwarfed by the circle of students and the man towering over her. But somehow, she was the only one who didn't seem afraid. A strange silence settled again. Then someone, no one knew who, started clapping. Just one person at first. Then two. Then five. It didn't catch on completely, but the sound lingered, awkward and sharp, and it left Halvorsen looking around like he wasn't sure who he was supposed to reprimand. Lena bent down slowly and picked up her book from where it had fallen again. A crease down the middle now. She brushed it off gently, cradled it in one arm, and looked back at Halvorsen. "Do you want me to wait for security?" she asked, voice flat. He stared at her for a moment, then nodded stiffly. "Yes, right here." She nodded once, then leaned back against the lockers and stared straight ahead. No shame, no panic, no regret, just stillness, as if she'd been carrying that moment for a long, long time, and finally let it go.